All right, get ready to deep dive into Midwest Sessions, a movie that's raising eyebrows with its wild mix of sci-fi, horror, and romance. Seriously, a sci-fi horror romance set in the Midwest. Color me intrigued. It's like someone bottled up the unexpected charm of the Twilight Zone and Twin Peaks and dropped it smack dab in the middle of America.
You're spot on about the unexpected charm. Those shows have become classics for a reason. They tap into that primal fascination we have with the unexplained, the idea that behind the ordinary facade of everyday life, there's a whole lot we don't see.
It sounds like Midwest Sessions is cranking that concept up a notch. We're talking supernatural entities throwing shade in a defunct steel mill.
Yeah.
Not exactly your sunny California beach vibe, right?
Definitely not. The setting itself is ripe with thematic potential. You've got the economic anxieties of a struggling town, the weight of history clinging to those rusting steel beams, and the potential for secrets to fester in a place where everyone knows your name.
Okay, now we're talking. It's giving me those things are not what they seem vibes. And did I mention the townspeople are described as quirky? Sign me up.
Hold on, it gets even better. Even the supernatural entities are labeled as quirky. That's not a term you see thrown around in your typical horror flick. It makes you wonder if the filmmakers are going for a darkly comedic tone, maybe even a touch of satire.
Ooh, I love a good dose of satire, especially if it's poking fun at those over-the-top horror tropes we've come to expect. It could be like Shaun of the Dead meets Stranger Things, but with a Midwestern twist.
That's a great comparison. And speaking of twists, one of the key words used to describe the film is Midwest emo. Now, how do we even begin to unpack that?
Right, that's a head-scratcher for sure.
Yeah.
Is that a musical cue, a character trait, or some deeper commentary on Midwestern angst? You've got my curiosity piqued.
It's like they're taking those raw, introspective emotions often associated with emo music and using them as a lens to explore the lives of these characters. It suggests a certain depth, a layer of emotional complexity beneath the surface of small town life.
And we know those emotional depths can run deep, especially when you're dealing with the fallout of a fading industry and the ghosts of the past, both literal and figurative.
And speaking of those depths, it's worth noting that the film's writer and director, Mario J. Ricciardi, is no stranger to weaving intricate narratives.
Well, that's right. Having one person wear both hats, so to speak, is a bold move. It makes you wonder what kind of vision he's bringing to the table.
It definitely suggests a singular artistic focus, a strong hand guiding the story from conception to screen. While it's a lot of pressure for one person, it also means fewer creative compromises along the way.
So Ricciardi has complete control over this quirky, potentially satirical Midwest emo ghost story. Now I'm even more curious about who he's cast to bring these characters to life.
Well, the cast list reads like a who's who of up-and-coming talent. You've got Terry Shears, who always brings a certain intensity to the screen, and Dan Hobel, who's known for his comedic timing, although his character is listed as Dan the Man, so who knows what to expect there.
Dan, the man. Okay, that's fantastic. It's like they're leading into the absurdity of it all, and we haven't even gotten to the Pope and Donnie Johnny paradox yet.
Those names alone could be the starting point for a whole other deep dive. You've got to wonder, is the Pope a spiritual leader, a nickname based on some local legend, or something else entirely? And Donnie Johnny paradox that just screams duality, a battle between two sides of the same person.
It's like they're giving us breadcrumbs, little hints of the characters' inner turmoil before we even see them on screen. And then there's that whole keyword list we touched on earlier. Phantom, time, Midwest, steel mill, cowboy hat, Midwest emo. Talk about a mixed bag.
It's like they raided a thrift store of random ideas and somehow stitched them together into a cohesive whole. But let's not dismiss them as random just yet. Remember, those things are not what they seem vibes we talked about. These keywords might be our key to unlocking the deeper layers of the film.
Okay, I'm game. Break it down for me. What kind of secrets are hidden within these keywords?
Let's start with phantom and time. These suggest a haunting presence, something from the past that refuses to stay buried. Perhaps the supernatural entities are echoes of the steel mill's history, the lingering pain of those who lost their livelihoods or their lives within its walls.
It's like the past is bleeding into the present, creating ripples that affect everyone in town. And those ripples might even be reflected in the cowboy hat keyword.
Now that one's a doozy. It feels so out of place in a Midwestern steel town, which makes me think it's a deliberate choice. Perhaps it represents a clash of cultures, a symbol of the outside world encroaching on this isolated community.
Or maybe it's a red herring, a way to keep the audience guessing. Either way, it adds another layer of intrigue to the whole thing.
Exactly. It's a bold statement, just like the Midwest emo label. It suggests a certain rawness, a vulnerability that runs deeper than the stereotypical image of stoic Midwesterners.
It makes you wonder if the movie is challenging those stereotypes, showing the emotional complexity that exists beneath the surface of any community, regardless of geographic location.
Precisely. And that's where the $2 million budget comes into play.
Right. We were going to get to that. It's not a shoestring budget, but it's not a blockbuster either. How do you think that will affect the final product?
I think it might actually work in their favor. With a smaller budget, filmmakers often have to get more creative with their resources. They can't rely on flashy special effects to carry the story. Instead, they have to focus on strong performances, compelling dialogue, and innovative storytelling techniques.
So we might be in for a more character-driven experience, one that relies on atmosphere and suspense rather than CGI explosions. Okay, let's take a step back and see the big picture. Midwest Sessions is shaping up to be a film that's not afraid to go against the grain. We've got this intriguing mix of genres, a unique setting, and a cast of characters that can make even the most stoic audience member raise an eyebrow.
And let's not forget those keywords, those little whispers hinting at deeper thematic layers. We've explored the haunting presence of the past, the struggles of a fading industry, the search for identity in a world that feels increasingly out of control. It's a lot to unpack for an 85-minute film.
You're right. But it makes you wonder, how are they going to fit all of this into such a short runtime?
Well, that's the beauty of smaller films. With less time to fill, the filmmakers have to be incredibly concise with their storytelling. They can't afford any filler, any fluff. They have to make every moment count. And that often leads to a more focused, more impactful story.
So instead of getting bogged down by long, drawn-out scenes, we're going to get a fast-paced, thrilling ride, right?
Absolutely. The short runtime can also be a great advantage for the pacing. It can create a sense of urgency, forcing the characters to confront their problems head-on, and it can keep the audience on the edge of their seats.
So what's the final verdict? Is Midwest Sessions a must-see, a sleeper hit, or a potential disaster?
It's still too early to tell, but based on what we know so far, I think Midwest Sessions has the potential to be something truly special. It's taking familiar elements of sci-fi, horror, and romance and giving them a unique twist, all while exploring those anxieties about the past, present, and future that we all relate to.
I'm definitely adding this one to my watch list. And I'm guessing you are too.
You bet. And don't forget, the release date is October 19th, 2024. Mark your calendars.
So before we wrap things up, think about this. What if Midwest Sessions is more than just a spooky, entertaining film? What if it's a reflection of our own anxieties about the world we're living in, the anxieties about the past, present, and future? It's a film that could make you laugh, make you scream, and make you think. And that's something you don't see every day.
Exactly. And those kinds of films, the ones that stay with you long after the credits roll, that are truly worth seeking out.
So, until next time, happy diving.